Hello and welcome to another episode of Tommy's Tirades, where today Tommy's mad at historic America.
That's right, Johnny. Probably one of the most historical sites in America. At least if you're one of the goofy people like us who like to dress up and pretend
Hey,
that
don't
we're
drag me
in the Civil
into
War.
this.
Or for me,
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
that. And we're at Gettysburg. So in
Yes.
preparation for our special on Gettysburg, which is only a couple of months away, as that big battle comes up with the Civil War in hindsight,
Right around the
we took
corner.
a trip. We took a trip to Gettysburg to get some footage at the actual battlefield, and let me tell you,
boy.
was that an experience?
Yeah, it's exactly what you would expect.
That's not.
For an amusement park
There you go.
depicting what they think the Civil War
Yep.
might have been like.
Uh-huh.
Or Civil War, old colonial Civil War era town, I guess.
So
would have been like.
So this was a short trip. Me and Johnny decided, kind of on a spur thing. We drove our car out there. We had a weekend to do our Gettysburg shindigs here.
That is too much time.
It's probably a bit much. And what we really were gunning for is some footage of Pickett's Charge, Devil's Den, that kind of thing, which we got all that very quickly. And then we had to fill our time with things. So first night we're out there. I thought we would take it easy. No work. Me and Johnny.
That's right.
We're gonna
experience the downtown.
We're gonna experience downtown Gettysburg. Now I was thinking Gettysburg was. This is my own fault. A city.
This is on you.
Yeah, this is on me. I thought it was a reasonable sized city. I did not know that, technically speaking, there are more people in my town of Brazil, Indiana, than actually live in Gettysburg. I mean, you wouldn't know it by the size of the downtown.
It's small town America, but it's a nice, cute little downtown area. It's got like a main little circle, and then it's got like 4 roads that shoot off it, and there's touristy shit on those 4 roads, and that's that's the whole city. And then they got a college apparently that we got lost in.
Yeah, we did get lost at the college. With that in mind, I guess it makes sense that Gettysburg, a small city that wasn't famous for anything but this battle, would be this battle, and then that's it. That's what you got.
They really latched onto that as a identity for everything. In the town,
absolutely everything. So first, we went to dinner, and on the recommendation of my parents, they said you got to go to the Boddington House. It is the like one of the oldest continually operating taverns in the U.S. And I'm sitting there thinking in the back of my head, holy shit, yes, Ye Olden Tavern. Why would we not want to go to Ye Olden Tavern?
A couple of reasons.
A couple reasons, and I'm glad that my parents don't watch this channel because I'm gonna shit on their
favorite restaurant in Gettysburg. Favorite Gettysburg establishment. Yeah.
So first, you go into said restaurant. You have your choice between fancy dining downstairs,
if you can find it.
Good
God, we went to 3 doors.
But then you're like, I want the tavern, and they're like, all right, well, you got to go out this door and up this shady other set of doors and go in that way. And you're greeted with hostesses that are in black jeans, and a pirate shirt.
Much like this, it was. I could have passed as a hostess, essentially.
And I thought, well, that's fine. Okay, yeah, it's okay.
It's close.
And behind the hostess was a very much modern reproduction, Ye Olden musket on the wall, which I thought, okay, that's fine. We are in Gettysburg. You can literally walk 3 feet and find a store that's selling an actual Ye Olden musket. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, but we saw the prices of those, Tommy. A restaurant's not going to do that for decoration.
No, probably not. But fine, sure. And then it was a 45-minute wait, which I get it. Popular tavern, very small tavern, so popular.
Because you can kill all the time you need in the gift shop right off the entrance there.
And you're thinking gift shop as in, oh, cool, I can get a Ye Olden Civil War musket or Ye Olden cup. No, you can get Lululemon pants.
Jewelry, sterling,
cheap
or silver, silver-plated jewelry.
I don't even know if it would be silver-plated. It might just be like
who knows?
Nickels or something. I don't know.
Who knows?
Stainless steel.
They all sorts of just little. I mean, it was like
it's Cracker Barrel
or Gatling. Yeah, it was like Gatlinburg.
Yeah,
or Cracker. Yeah, it was like a Cracker Barrel with a slightly more modern flair.
If you're from Indiana, go to Nashville and pick a random crappy.
A lot of like Nashville stuff. Yeah.
Store, and that's like a Nashville.
It's your quiche little tourist
45 minutes
type stuff. We walked through it in about 6-7 minutes, I think.
If that.
Doing the 2 laps that we did.
And then we get ushered into the tavern. One of the oldest operating taverns. We get ushered down into Ye Olden Tavern, and we are greeted with a cap gun above the fireplace.
Tommy noticed that there was a cap gun over the fireplace. We weren't greeted with a cap gun. No. This is just your little,
anger.
That's all that is. But he is upset because it was a cap gun over the mantelpiece with
a child's cap
also
gun.
some skinks, I think, is what they had.
The little woodland skins. Creature skins. It was a romantic candlelight dinner for 2 for me and Johnny. I'll put a picture of me, with a candlelight in front of it. And our waiter was wearing chaps, like little knickers.
Which,
I guess was a touch. Although a city that's very much dependent upon the Civil War battle, maybe more 1800s and less 1700s era appropriate clothing would have been better. But
the good thing is our waiter clearly really, really enjoyed his job and
wanted every minute of that to be there. And then the people around us were like, the food is amazing. And we're like, okay, well, so maybe this Disney. And it felt very much like have you gone to a Pirates and Caribbean themed restaurant?
This is what it was.
It feels like a themed restaurant. And so, it's time to sit down and order our food, which was not small town America cheap. It was very much Disney.
I had a $14 sandwich that consisted of a bottom bun, a skinless boneless chicken breast that had been, just grilled, no seasoning, lettuce, tomato, onion, and mayonnaise, I think.
Yeah.
And a side of like Lay's potato chips. It was like a sack lunch when you went on school field trips.
Yeah, and
$14.
And this might be my most angry point here. So for those with wearing headphones, you might want to take headphones off for a second. I got a Reuben sandwich, and there's like 3 key components to a Reuben sandwich. You got marbled rye bread, corned beef, sauerkraut, and then like the 4th component is some kind of like Thousand Island dressing thing. The dressing's not important. It's the corned beef, it's the marbled rye, and it's sauerkraut. I got sourdough toasted. It was not marble rye. So you already threw the sandwich. Just get this and throw it in the dumpster already. I'm already mad about it. And then the corned beef was like that. You go to Kroger and you buy Boddington, the 59-cent package of corned beef that you find at Kroger. It comes in ham and it comes in chicken and all that stuff. But they had a corn. It's that on toasted sourdough bread with sauerkraut, and there might have been dressing on there. I was angry by the fucking bread. You don't mess it. How do you mess that up? It's not a Reuben. It's not a Reuben. It's a Boddington sandwich, which I guess makes sense because we're at Boddington.
Yeah, he was really.
And that was $17.
This is like the 15th time I've heard this rant.
Yeah, I know. You heard it
guess
while
what?
we were
Tommy
there.
judges restaurants based on how well they do their Reuben. Because
Kinda.
it's such a common thing in restaurants.
What if they have a Reuben?
So,
I eat the Reuben and I judge a restaurant on the Reuben. And you know what? No, Johnny. Every time I go to a restaurant, they get one option. This is the tism coming out of me. You get one chance. You get one chance to wow me. I order one thing off your menu, and if that one thing's not good, I assume everything's not good and you're a shit restaurant.
You have to wow.
Now, on top of that,
he's got to be wowed by whatever your dish.
If that one thing is
going to grace your establishment with his presence again.
If that one thing is delicious, I will only ever order that one thing. It's kind of one of these catch-22 things for me. But the beer prices, though, they were affordable. It's like $5 for a beer until you realize that it's not a pint. It is not a pint. You're getting 12 ounces. So even that was not...
Which that was not surprising.
Great. So we do that. We have that, and then we leave that establishment. We find another random generic microbrewery, and that was good. There's no complaints there. If you're going to Gettysburg just to get drunk, there are plenty of options for you that are reasonable. There is like a tavern every other store, and we ask us how we know because we found them. Anyways,
I don't know anything. Literally, that's it. All to do. That's all. That's
So at the end of the night, we're going to celebrate by going on a ghost tour. Because Gettysburg, if you're into that kind of thing, why would you not want to go and get entertained by
haunted,
spooky?
Right? It's gotta be.
Allegedly, yeah, it's super haunted. So I booked us tours to I thought two ye olden buildings would be the best bet. And the tour company will remain nameless, but the first tour started with Orphans Homestead, the Gettysburg Soldiers Orphans Homestead, which I was assuming was an orphanage.
Very haunted.
Potentially very haunted.
It's an orphanage in old times.
Assuming it was Civil War related. Not really. It opened up in '66.
It didn't open. Yeah, so after that's... Notoriously
now, granted,
after the Civil War.
It was to deal with the influx of children that lost their fathers in the war and lost their mothers in arsenal explosions, or their mothers just couldn't afford to keep them.
Or they're like, no, I'm done with this.
Let the state take care of this child.
Any of this.
And so there's an orphanage, and like all orphanages, it starts off really well. But I gotta paint before I tell you the true story about the orphanage. We gotta tell you about this little ghost tour.
Let's do it the way that we learned about it, because we first learned about this orphanage through the ghost tour.
Yeah. So you go into the building, and it is from the outside a ye olden building, and then you get inside, and it is 2010 flippered house.
Yeah.
You've got floated laminate floor. That's not done well.
Paint.
You've got drop ceiling that you have in your high school. Ceilings. Yeah, the drop tile ceilings. You got those from your high school. They're all leaking, by the way. All of them leaking. And then the walls are this combination of cheap like paint and or in the first area that you're in. Unfinished plaster. You just like you're gonna make a decorative plaster, like you're gonna put tile up, and then you just didn't put the tile up.
Yeah, it's just prepared.
That's how it's finished. And
nice
then the spooky tour opens up where they're like, we don't know what this room was used for. It could have been a torture chamber.
A room on the back of the house.
It could have been a cookhouse. It could have been. We don't know what it was used for. Spoiler. It was a fucking dormitory that was a part of, like, it was a barn in the backyard, and when the orphanage got too big, they attached the barn to the house, and they made a separate dormitory. It took 2 seconds to Google that, and I did that while we're sitting there. We don't know what this room's used for! Yeah, it's a fucking dormitory. It was a barn in the backyard that they moved.
Well, all right. So the first thing that stuck out about this ghost tour was that it was very, very obviously a made-up story that people had written and then rehearsed.
Yes.
It was very clear from the beginning that it was not a legitimate, true ghost story.
No.
And I know that because in the first 10 minutes, the guide said, true story, 3 or 4 times?
Yeah.
They had to clarify that what they were saying was a true story, which usually means it's
Nah. So the story starts off that there's a Rosa J. Carmichael. She takes over the orphanage several years after the orphanage begins, and she's a very mean headmistress. Think, what's that stupid movie with the girl who has the magic powers, and it's got Danny DeVito in it. We were there. Matilda. That's it. That's the one. Yep. Think that esque, creepy overlord. Her.
Yeah, I think an 1800s orphanage. It's an 1800s orphanage. Abusive folk.
And she was very abusive to the children, allegedly.
Surprise,
and one day
surprise.
there's a neighbor children. This is their story, by the way. This isn't the real story. This is their story. One day a neighbor boy, we'll call him Tim, comes over, knocks on the orphanage house. He wants to play with little Andy. And the mistress, Rosa answers the door and says, where you at? And he's like, hey. Can I play with little Andy? And she goes, little Andy's dead.
Yeah, just like that.
And then just slams the door.
Up, little Andy's dead. Whoever. They had a different name. It
was a different name. It doesn't matter.
Names for
slam the door. Slam the door in his face. And so little Timmy, he gets upset, rightfully so, goes to his dad. Dad gets upset, rightfully so. They get a whole pitchfork town mob together, and they pound on the orphanage doors. We want to see where little Andy is. And she's like, I don't know, she's buried out back somewhere. And then they go out back, because you can't tell a freshly dug grave from looking at it. They have to get their pitchforks, and they have to stab the ground until they find the soft earth, and they find little Andy. And so she's immediately arrested for child abuse. Which, if you know anything about child abuse, which most people don't, but I worked in the industry, the first law of any kind of law regarding child abuse didn't get written in the United States until 1978.
1862.
1978. So it would have been impossible to be arrested for child abuse because that law doesn't even exist as of yet. And then she goes, she got arrested, but she was released, and she was convicted, but it was only on one count, and she was only fined $20, and then was able to go back to the orphanage and continue her reign of terror, which this time she amped it up by locking children in the basement. She would shackle them to a wall in the basement, and when that wasn't good, she would put you into the hole in the basement, which was just a room further in the basement that was just a different room.
It was just a different section of the basement.
Not actually a hole in the ground. It's not a sub-basement.
No. Just off to the side.
Just different.
With a shorter ceiling. Where
you
might suspect they are storing vegetables or cold things or,
And normally when you go on a ghost tour, there's like stories about like people's experiences in said haunted areas. Like, a fucking child held my hand while I was walking, and I looked down and there's no child there. Like, scary. Ooh. But this one was...
Some people
felt nauseous.
They didn't feel so good.
They had an upset tummy.
And they barely survived.
They barely survived. At which point, Johnny, while this tour is going on... we've been drinking.
I did. Well, no, I had a legitimate question, because if you say, thank God he survived, that implies somebody at some point didn't survive, right? So I asked if somebody had died taking the tour. And guess what? They had not.
They had not. No, nobody had not. And then so you get into the basement, and you're immediately presented with somebody went to Goodwill, bought a bunch of modern children toys, and threw them in the basement, which makes no goddamn sense, because if these kids were being locked in the basement, they wouldn't have had fucking toys!
Yeah, they're not going to put toys down there with them. And also, why are the toys lit? There was all right, so the cat...
A cat toy that lit up!
It's a ball that if you shake it, it will light up. And they had that for the children.
They had that. They
they
then followed up with the chain.
Stones, Tommy, the stones.
Yeah, well, I get the stones. So they have the chain on the wall. This is where the kids were shackled, which is very clearly not. It was not a period appropriate chain. And then she goes, well, that's a reproduction chain, but the hook on there, that's real, and don't touch it, because you never know what creepy diseases you might get from it. In fact, I do know what diseases you get from the 1800s. There's tuberculosis, there's dysentery, there is, what is that? You get tetanus, that's a thing, and that's about what you get from an old rusty hook.
They really didn't want you to touch stuff or steal stuff.
No,
though.
they also didn't want you to touch rocks or take rocks with you because apparently ghosts really like rocks in Gettysburg, and if you take a rock, they will haunt you. And some kid apparently took a whole box full of rocks, and he was terrified of these rocks because the ghost kept haunting him. So he shipped to the visitor center at Gettysburg the whole box of rocks back,
FedEx,
which I guarantee you, in the history of Gettysburg, they have never been shipped a box of fucking rocks to them because who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for that?
Tommy, what is, if you're going to have a haunted building, what is a thing that has to happen in that building in order for it to be haunted?
Somebody die.
Somebody needs to die, right?
Yeah.
To be a ghost. What is a thing that did not happen at this building?
From what I could find, and I did some extensive research on this orphanage, nobody died.
And yet, it was haunted by a bunch of children who would go attach themselves to rocks and then try to go home with people
The
who had not died there.
They had not died there. No. The tour concludes with you going into the hole, where it is included with again more fake toys and a rubber set of shackles. Rubber
shackles.
And if you're going to make a fake ghost story,
why bother?
Why bother? And if you're going to make a fake ghost story, like you could have had a recorded creepy child audio, like piped through the building. That'd been cool. You could have fucking hired a little kid to dress up in weird story. Victorian clothing, and then
it's like an experience, not an actual haunted place. Like I've done a lot of really good ghost tours.
This was not one of them.
This was not one of them.
So. The truth behind the orphanage is this. In 1867, Grant does visit the orphanage. It's an orphanage that really was in operation. It was for
coolest
veterans,
thing to happen
kids
to the building, by the way, was Grant being there.
And that's the coolest thing. Grant does actually visit this orphanage and gives kids crisp high fives. Keeping the distance because you don't want to be accused of anything. So it was always crisp high fives. The orphanage was overpacked with both male and female children. That's why they built the extension onto the back of it. And in 1870s-ish, Rosa J. Carmichael does take control of the orphanage. And that's where the town's rumors start to happen because she does not let the board of trustees into the home after she takes control of it.
Because she
and the board of trustees is a bunch of women
and abusing children in the basement, probably.
Could be.
That's probably legit.
Yeah, she's definitely I'm not saying she didn't beat kids. She definitely beat kids.
No, the abuse is it was the 1800s. What do you got?
But you got to remember,
there wasn't even a law.
The board of trustees is all women. And think of 1950s housewife who gets a busybody, has nothing else going on, so she digs in the whole rumor mill and starts speculating on things. And the busybody knows you. And that's 1950s where there's at least some things to do. You could listen to the radio. This is 1870 where your options for entertainment are walking by a tree, and we'll get to that tree in a second. But walking by a tree, and that's about it. And trying to avoid getting beat by your husband. Those are pretty much your options.
You weren't going to be able to do that, though.
As a woman. So there was a George W. London who does get seriously maimed at this house, basically loses his arm. And he goes into town after basically losing his arm and says, hey, fucking bitch, chop my arm off. And the town rightfully gets a little mad about that, says, can't have that. But the rumor mill has already been going because she's not allowed people into and this is based on court records, by the way. I found some of the court records and newspaper articles at the time. So the town goes there. They do arrest her on several charges, including aggravated assault, because child abuse does not exist.
Yeah, it's not a thing yet. It's your property. You can do what you want to it.
They do find her guilty on one of those charges, and they do, because she's a woman, take pity on her and don't actually give her any jail time. They just make her pay $20 in court fees.
But so did you do an equivalent?
To today. Yeah, it's normal. That's yeah.
How much?
Oh, how much is that equivalent to? Oh, fuck, man, I don't know. Yeah, look it up while I continue talking about the story.
What is it, 1870?
Yeah, it's 1870. Now, she does continue to get in a little bit of trouble afterwards because she makes 3 girls dress in boys' clothes for punishment because they wouldn't, sew up their dresses, which in fairness, that doesn't seem like that outrageous of a punishment. But like the city was like outraged that you would make a woman dressed in guy's clothing. So transphobia has been a thing that's been around forever, I guess.
I mean,
and so they gave these girls the option, these couple of girls the option to go to other wards. At which point the girls said, they were like between the ages of 17 and 18, were like, nah, I don't want to do that because
so clearly
didn't want to go to my creepy uncles for a reason. Like, so they stayed in the home. So the treatment couldn't have been that bad if they were like, I'm going to stay in the home.
Yeah. It's a $460 fine or so.
Oh, yeah, that's nothing. That's fine. That's nothing.
It's not a big deal.
It's not that big of a deal. No. So that's the orphanage that we did the tour. The tour also
we
does
left
take
early.
you to.
We were supposed to do another
we
part,
did.
But we couldn't.
There was another. Yeah, there's another home, the Jenny Wade home, where some poor, house broad, like she's like, she doesn't live in the house, but she's like brought in to cook and clean, and during the battle she bites it because like some jackass shoots a volley into the house and she gets a stray bullet, which the bullet's still there. That's kind of cool. Bullet's still there.
Yeah, that was
and
neat.
She allegedly haunts that house. We didn't see that part. We would have gotten arrested, and I would have peed my pants. Not from fear, but from I drank a lot of beer.
We had beer, and we were warned that once the tour starts, it will not stop for you to use the restroom.
Yep.
What she said.
Day 2. By the way, the Days Inn. If you're confused about Days Inn hotels being shitbags, which normally they are, Days Inn in Gettysburg, actually a really nice hotel. Yeah. Not bad. You got no bed bugs.
Good deal.
Large size room. Hot water works for the shower. Toilet's a little low to the ground. But other than that, it was pretty good. I recommend the Days Inn if you're going to go to Gettysburg. So day 2, we do our sightseeing. We go into the battlefield. We see all kinds of fun stuff. I don't want to spoil any of that because you'll see that when we do our Gettysburg special. We didn't wake up early. We actually didn't get out to the battlefield till 11, and we were done with the battlefield by noon. It was very short, easy.
Yeah.
We did see, in the attempt to get to Devil's Den, we did find
hat poles.
But we did find the Devil's Den trailer park for RV camping, which is not RV the battlefield. There was two different things.
We GPS'd it. And
it took us.
We're expecting to go to some historic battleground, and instead,
you're at an RV park.
A very, very busy, very full RV park. We'll
put some footage of that up there.
What are people doing here?
It was having the time of their life.
Yeah, so that's I don't know. Figure out your naming conventions or a way to differentiate because that's confusing and upsetting. It was 15 minutes.
I will make one comment about the battlefield and the monuments. Why the fuck does Lee have the biggest monument? He's got this massive monument right at Pickett's Charge. First off, it's named Pickett's Charge, which it shouldn't be named Pickett's Charge because you name the battles after the victors, not the losers. So it really shouldn't be named Pickett's Charge. But that's beside the point. And you got a fucking big ass gigantic statue of Lee. It's like bigger than any other damn statue on the battlefield. You lost. This is your biggest idiotic moment in the history of U.S. generals. This has to be the dumbest fucking move ever.
So he was a U.S. general at some point then also.
Yes.
Okay. And
Mexican American War. That's Mexican
American War.
Yeah. He wasn't a general then. He was like a captain.
Oh, so not an American general.
No, not an American general. No, just a captain.
Just a traitor.
Yes.
General.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And he has the biggest statue. Not of Meade. Biggest statue's not of Meade. Nope, can't have that. Biggest statue's not of Reynolds, who bravely gave his life during the battle to defend American soil. No, not of General Reynolds. We're not going to have the biggest statue for him. No. Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got done at about noon, so we decided to save our pocketbooks a little bit, and we were both craving Chinese food, so we went to Lee's Chinese Buffet.
That's right.
Which I really hope the guy's first name was Bobby, because that would have just made it that much better.
Oh, Bobby Lee. Because L-I, by the way, not L-E.
Yeah, it's L-I.
It was L-I.
And it's Chinese buffet. If you ever been to a Chinese buffet, it's the same. It's the same
Jello.
Same. And then we went meandering around the village. We stopped off at multiple taverns along the way. Drank multiple beers.
Of tchotchkes, though. Holy cow.
In multiple taverns, lots of tchotchkes. Surprisingly, the cost of muskets, while full retail, were not outrageous. I was thinking they'd be a lot higher than they were. But if you want a $50,000 Confederate coat that some Confederate died in, that's already sold, so you can't buy that one.
No. There's other coats from people who aren't traders.
The Union general, who wasn't a trader, his coat was only like $2,000.
I think our country might not be well right now, Tommy.
They might not be very well. No, because that jacket's still there. The $50,000 Confederate one sold.
That's gone. Can't have that anymore.
Gone. Sold. So there's
Somebody
that.
Needed
we
that.
did find a recommendation
really
from.
Nice car.
I'm going to give a shout out to Rick. I know he watches us. Rick, he's a fellow reenactor of mine. He did recommend us to go to, I think it was Sweeney's Tavern, which is very hard to find. This is a hidden. This is back behind Farthworth's house, and we had to ask somebody. We asked some skeezy cook who's out hanging out back, all greased up with his hairnet, smoking a cig. Like, hey, where's Sweeney's Tavern? Oh yeah, you're at it. Just go around the corner. There's a door behind the bushes. And there's a door behind the bushes, and you open the door, and it is old shit dive tavern that had been there for forever and a day with a lady who's like 90 years old who clearly has been there since she was 20.
I mean,
and it's got a bunch of the movie Gettysburg props and shit.
Still is.
It's a very Gettysburg theme.
It still has.
It's the movie
it's got
Gettysburg
cases
theme.
With
it's definitely
because what they
that's where the cast hung out. Yeah, that's where the
cast
of Gettysburg hung out.
Which fine, I don't know. Hang out somewhere, but there were better places to hang out in Gettysburg. If I'm being honest, that one had like 3 mediocre beers on tap.
Yeah, but it was what I was looking for, which was local shitty dive. We found it. It was there.
We got it.
And then that was it. We just went around and we drank some beers, and we found there's a what was it? The Lincoln's Microbrewery. The Lincoln's Microbrewery. I recommend that one. That one was good. Or Lincoln's Hat. What the fuck was that last one we went to? Lincoln something.
No, it was
something with Lincoln.
Score.
Lincoln's name was in it, and it had a picture of his face with a top hat.
Score.
Maybe it might have been that. I don't know. That was good. That was good. They had some good beers.
That was good.
That's Gettysburg.
Yeah. Just big old tourist trap. Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about something else.